Hi, welcome to the Black Pill. In the ongoing tradition of posting reviews that should have been posted literally years ago, let's get into The Green Knight. Part one has minimal spoilers. Part two is where the spoilers are. So here we go. Part one. Parents, careful about this one. If you're expecting a sword and sorcery film, forget it. If you want the 1981 movie with its sex and violence, forget that too. There is sex and violence, almost all of which takes place off screen. There are some CGI giant breasts and Dev Patel's bottom. That's about it. We see the consequences of violence: corpses, skeletons, severed heads, but almost none of the action of violence. We see the consequences of sex: babies, swollen bellies, and semen, but little of the act of it. This isn't cute, simple, and encapsulated. Go to the Disney cartoon if that's what you need. The sword in the stone, if that's what you're after. This isn't an epic battle. Go to the 1981 film. If that's what you want. God, Merlin in that movie. He's just such a creep. I love him. For the average moviegoer, this might be entirely too art house. I'm glad I left my family at home. They'd have only complained that the movie was boring, but it was far from boring. If you can attend to complex plot points and emotional cues. The film comes from Studio A24, which made Midsummer and Hereditary. I wasn't aware of this sitting in the theater. Like, I don't take very much interest in these sorts of things. None of the credits hinted that way. Like, what are they going to do from the makers of Hereditary? No, it's not really there. Smarter people than me, people with those interests might find specific people in both productions. I didn't recognize any, but I knew it from seeing it. The camera pans through strange views, looking at irrelevant things or focused on a thing you don't need to see, with a thing you do need to see barely in focus nearby or in the background. In a strange opening, a woman mounts a horse and rides off with a building on fire, and the camera backs through a window to find Gawain waking on Christmas morning. None of the outside scene ever explained overtly. Music swells with drama over barren landscapes with nothing moving. The camera tips upside down for no apparent reason. In short, it looks very much like an A24 movie and sounds like it too. Oh, also, there are a lot of beheadings and references to beheadings. So someone from A24 worked on both Hereditary and this. It can't be a coincidence. Anyway, the actors are quirky. I think they hint at a Welsh setting. Anyway, smarter people might make something of that. I don't know the Arthur cycles well. I grew up with the pop culture of Arthur as an English kid, I know it just well enough to know that the Welsh stories are are far different from later versions of the stories. If you don't like people of color in a thing set in Britain, dude, just fuck off. Just fuck off right now. I don't need to hear from you. And if you do know the Arthur cycles, also fuck off, but much more kindly. Like, I'd love to read your review on your page. That would be a wonderful thing. I'm still waiting for some real Arthur historians to put a real stamp on a real review. I actually did get to read a couple of experts in chivalry offering up their take a little later, and it just wasn't. It didn't have the depth that I'd expect. Like, my review in part two is not going to be very much different from those expert reviews. Anyway. At least as far as I was able to see. Good. Which is all preface to this. Dev Patel is amazing and wonderful. Perfect for the version of Gawain written and portrayed here. I love him. Since we're on diversity, there's maybe a little bit of gay baiting. No, it's gay baiting. It's gay baiting dressed up in ambiguity to be deniable. Probably. Anyway, so part 2, spoilers. If you've not seen the thing and plan to, like, stop here. Still here? Okay. Gawain wakes up Christmas morning. It's evident he's not a knightly sort of fellow. He isn't a knight yet, but aims to be. Trouble is, he sleeps in a brothel, drinks all night, and isn't very courageous. Arthur thinks the world of him, but from a distance. There's some relationship problem between Arthur and his sister, whose son is Gawain, making Gawain, Arthur's nephew, in this version of the story, also his heir. Gawain goes to Mass, dragged there by his prostitute girlfriend. Then he goes to a dinner party with his uncle, the king, and the knights of the Round Table to which he aspires. The Green Knight crashes the party, this wonderful, monstrous figure. There's some spell casting, some magic play, making it seem maybe Gawain's mother and her coven created the Green Knight, but it's pretty ambiguous. There are also later hints that he's Merlin, as are all of the characters that Gawain later encounters. All of them are Merlin trying to build some chivalric responsibility in this man who will one day be the king by the right of his birth. The Green Knight throws down a challenge, right? A simple game of chivalry. Any comer can try to land a blow if in 1 year they come to his green chapel and allow him to return the same blow in the manner of his choosing. The Round Table Knights want none of it. Arthur is old, old and sordid. Gawain steps up. You know, he has ambitions. He's a climber. He steps up. The Green Knight dismounts his gigantic horse, kneels, and bares his neck. The film could be over at this point, man. This is a contest of courtly manners. Gawain could simply kiss the Green Knight's cheek. Blow landed. I'll be around for my peck in a year. Thanks, bye. But Gawain beheads him. Well, so he lives the next rapid year knowing he'll have to kneel for the Green Knight. Much of the film is his travels to the north seeking his destiny. He encounters spirits, giants, highwaymen, knights and their ladies, an elderly woman with a bandage over her eyes who's never fully explained, and a talking fox. It's possible that each and every one of them is Merlin, offering tests of courage and chivalry. A boy traumatized by a field of bodies, including his brothers, offers direction. Gawain thanks him and sets off. The boy presses for a reward. Gawain offers him nothing. And then a copper coin, a penny. This appears a failed test of generosity or empathy. Later, he meets a spirit, a girl murdered by a lord. She wants something back from the bottom of a spring. Gawain wonders what he would get in return for such a deed, and she berates him, right? Don't ask. Another failed test of charity, which on reflection mirrors the little boy who came to him asking a reward, and he denies the reward, you know? He's the little boy. Anyway, like later in a magical manor house full of anachronisms, a pinhole camera, if I remember, and featuring a wonderful monologue from Alicia Vikander, Gawain meets a knight who knows him, but he doesn't know. The knight presses him on questions of honor. Why ride to meet this destiny? You can only die. Is it that important? Is that all that you want? Does all your honor hang on this one deed? I know the coffee mug looks gigantic when I do this, but it objectively is gigantic. Anyway, so this brings us to a Falstaff bit from Shakespeare's Henry IV, Part 1. And I have time. Let's read it. So here we go. "'Tis not due yet. I would be loath to pay him before his day. What need I be so forward with him that calls not on me? Well, 'tis no matter. Honor pricks me on. Yea, but how if honor pricks me off when I come on? How then? Can honor set to a leg? No. Or an arm? No. Or take away the grief of a wound? No. Honor hath no skill in surgery then? No. What is honor? A word. What is in that word honor? What is that honor? Air. A trim reckoning. Who hath it? He that died a Wednesday? Doth he feel it? No. Doth he hear it? No. 'Tis insensible then. Yea, to the dead. But will it not live with the living? No. Why? The detraction will not suffer it. Therefore I'll none of it. Honor is a mere scutcheon, and so ends my catechism." Took a couple takes to get through that one. Being a knight himself, he knows there is value in honor and uses that to try to trick Gawain out of a thing he carries. Anyway, I said there would be spoilers. I'm still being careful with the spoilers. His mother has given him a magically enchanted sash, a belt, that as long as he wears it, no harm can befall him, right? Nothing can kill him. And this strange knight at this magical manor house is trying to steal away his immortality, so that when he kneels in the Green Chapel and the Green Knight's sword falls, head severs from body instead of some magical intervention. Anyway, he arrives eventually at the Green Chapel, fresh from like being gay baited by this strange knight. He's early, so he sits vigil until the next dawn. The Green Knight awakes, they converse, then it's blow returning time. So at this point, Gawain has failed like 12 tests. of basic decency, arguably set by Merlin in various guises. Before that, he's failed some others with no prompting. And here's the Green Knight ready to lop off his head with a gigantic axe. Gawain can't do it. He flinches. He cries. This is his Dostoevsky moment. Famously, Fyodor Dostoevsky was convicted of sedition and sentenced to die. He stood in a field with other convicts, soldiers, before them loading weapons and aiming at them. He was reprieved at the last moment and sent instead to a gulag. This moment changed Dostoevsky forever. And arguably everything that he wrote in his life was about that moment. I'll not say more about the end of the film. Whether it ultimately satisfies is a matter of taste. It's never clear whether Gawain is a good man or not. In stories this old, people live or die by clever tricks, and honor is never objective or constant. Like bringing up Falstaff, that's projecting a notion of chivalric honor way back to a time when it hadn't developed and been sort of codified in the way that Shakespeare would have understood it yet, you know? So this is the giants fighting over the causeway and tricking each other, and it's the Irish hero. God, I've forgotten his name. Cuchulainn, holding up an invading army by demanding a duel with their strongest fighter, and then drawing that duel out so that it takes a day, and then tomorrow dueling the next one, so the whole army has to stop and wait. You know, these are tricks and cleverness, and the giant has the wife of the giant. One giant's coming to kill another giant, and the wife of the giant about to be murdered puts him in a cradle and covers him with a blanket, so that the first giant comes, and here's a giant his size who's only a baby. How big must his father be? And so he goes away and doesn't fight, you know. Trickery, cleverness, dishonesty, lying, you know. And that's not excluded from the chivalry of the early hundreds in England. It is part of the it is part of the chivalry. Lying is excluded, you know, from the chivalry of like the 15 and 1600s. So, I mean, some anachronistic notions of honor. I feel not a whit of shame bringing Falstaff into the equation. There we go. So it's never clear if Gawain is good, right? It's never clear whether he's a coward. He's at least brave to a point. No superhuman, no saint, no prayerful celibate. In the end, he has a decision. He makes it. He lives with it. He walks across Britain in its name. Then he has to go one more step to carry it through. If you see it or you've seen it, let me know what you think. Unless you're a racist, in which case, again, just fuck off. Okay, bye.